Stephen Miller has enough knowledge, with especially legally, to understand, what the
Oh
what the court would.
no. No. The way it works, they bring up the idea, and then they have the legal attorneys are there. They're gonna. He has all yes
Yeah,
men.
but somebody in this specific case, when they were going to deploy the National Guard, I guarantee you, somebody turned around and said, "You actually have the authority to deploy the National Guard to LA, to New York, to California, to Texas, to Louisiana, to anywhere that you want, so long as it's part of national security and for the protection and the welfare of the state. You have that right." Stephen Miller's not the guy that came up with that. I'm probably with you on Russell Vought, the designer project 2025, or maybe somebody else that's sitting in that inner circle. But this is definitely not a Stephen Miller. Now, once the issue came up, I'm certain that Trump probably said to him, "Stephen, go do some research on this and get back to me immediately." And so he did, and said, "You know what? I spoke to counsel, and they said absolutely you would have the legal right to do it." And so what does he do? He goes ahead, deploys the National Guard, tells them, "Be rough, do not be nice." And I've heard him say that many, many times over the years. Like, he never understood why police officers, when they're putting a perp into the back of a patrol car, they grab the top of their head, they arch the back, they seat them in. What Trump wants to see them do is grab them by the fucking ear, smash the side of the temple on the opposite side into the corner of the door frame, because they're perps and they deserve to be treated that way. The same way that he really wanted to see these Homeland Security agents shooting people in the legs who are trying to cross into the United States.
Yeah. No, Michael, I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, he's definitely a different type of character. And I agree with you that it's probably Russell. Well, because again, Stephen Miller is not the genius behind him. He's the mouthpiece that's closest to him, that basically explains to him, just like you said, just like we see it in the Oval, he explains to him that you could do this, but the real masterminds definitely is Russell. Who the other players are, it's interesting. I don't know, to tell you honestly, because who's there telling him that he's able to do, but it is definitely somebody, but it is also being pushed by people like, not only Stephen Miller, but by Susie Wiles, because he's very comfortable right now with Susie and Stephen.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the two that really have his ear with him constantly, around him constantly, and are there. And as you know better than yet, because you were there during the times where those private times, the down times, where it's not everybody, where it's not that, where you're just shooting the shit, as they say it, and that's where and that's where Susie Wiles and Stephen Miller really have his ear and push those stuff, and that's why he himself even called her, said, "You're the most powerful woman in the world right now."
Yeah, he did. Let me ask you this: if Trump controls the National Guard, and if he controls the National Guard in Democratic cities like LA, what's next? Lev, you think that we're inching toward a soft civil war, or do you think we're already there?
Well, it's interesting you said that, Michael, because there was another thing that Trump broke, that nobody's talking really about, is that he is now asking for a independent counsel to look into the 2020 election, because he feels it was stolen. Now, the first reaction you might think, and everybody would say, "Oh, that's crazy. Trump is just being Trump." This is where the problem is. I think it's part of a bigger game. I think the National Guard, saying that there was, the 2020 election was stolen. The right now, Senate and Congress committees looking into Biden's auto pen, I think this is all part of a bigger plan. Because what I'm worried about, and this is what me and you keep talking about all the time with Malcolm and all of us, is to be able to get to 2026. I'm saying to you, because he's not crazy. We understand that, and people around him, they might be vicious there, but they understand that the actions that he's taking place, they watch the polls, they see the special elections. They see, they know the statistics. They understand that with the thin line already the way it is, that the chances of them losing Congress is pretty good. And you see, even if you go by poly markets or whatever, the chances look, they're skyrocketing for the Democrats to take over that. And they understand that if that happens and when that happens, that everything that they're doing comes to a halt, because then we're going to be dealing with investigations, subpoenas, impeachments, and all kinds of stuff for all the stuff that they're doing. They understand that there's no impact, and that's what I'm worried about. And I keep saying sound alarm is that I think that the plan, and I don't know, it's not fact, but I think my opinion is that the plan of all of these little pieces that we're watching play out is to be able to somehow either fix, stop, whatever word you want to use, but to stop, do something with the elections because that's the only way he could stay in power without a civil war. You know what I'm saying to you? Because otherwise, if he could have a good enough cause to divert the elections or stop him or whatever the case is, to explain to the people, it's or control through the National Guard or whatever it is, the way it is, it gives him a chance that if he just comes out tomorrow and says, I'm not leaving office, obviously there's enough people on the other side, they're going to jump up in arms and say, hell no, you're going to go.
Sure.
So I think it's part of a bigger play, because just watching him, I mean, and better than anybody watching him, he's a guy that watches the polls, he watches the stock market, he watches all of these things, he watches the commentaries. He wants to hear. He wants to know, especially how, and he's watching. I mean, his polls are down, the commentary's bad. I mean, there's nowhere where he is winning, 100 on every subject. I mean, it's like, from the tariffs to the, his infight. I mean, even take a look at the infighting. I mean, people forgot Elon Musk, that's a done deal. You know it and I know. Just because they pretended to say they made peace, behind the scenes, Elon Musk is actually going after some of these, like this guy, Sergei Gore that we reported on, or Gorbachev. Elon Musk even went on Twitter and called him a snake. So Elon Musk is out of the the circus. You got Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson always hated Trump. We remember to the text messages back in the day when he called him a problem. But, now it's again coming out, and he embarrassed Ted Cruz, went after Ted Cruz. You got Steve Bannon trying to make peace going.
Boy, did he ever take him apart.
Yeah, you saw that. That was incredible.
Yeah. I did. Hey, Laev, let me ask you a question. Yeah. Let me ask you this question. Do you have an issue with Biden's auto pen? You think Trump's got something there? Here's the funny thing. There was a book, I remember reading it when I was in prison in Otisville, called 5 Felonies a Day. Harvey Westgate, if I'm not mistaken, was the author. And in it, it basically says that every single person in America commits 5 felonies a day. That's sort of the general premise. What if hypothetically he's right? That at the very end, Biden wasn't doing shit. That there were times that he was completely disassociated from the ability of the office, and these guys that were in his inner circle, because I have no regard for any of them, that they were using the auto pen. In fact, and it was reported, we had sent a letter to the Oval Office in regard, myself, Jesse Jackson Jr., and a couple of other people, talking about doing a mass pardon for all felons who have done their time. Being a felon, you're not supposed to be a felon for life, right? That's not what the judge. That's not what the judge ruled. Right, only in America. The judge rules that if you do 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever the sentence may be. But when you finish it, why do you remain a felon for life? It's just a stigma that interferes with your ability to exist and your family's ability. So that was there. But the argument that Jesse and I were making is that we don't even think that these animals that were around Biden, those protective animals, that they even discussed our pardon application with them. And I worked on my pardon application for like 5 months. I wanted at least to be considered. It wasn't even considered. And so I do have an issue with the auto pen. I just, of course, unlike Trump, I don't think it needs to be taken to the extent that Trump is taking, which is that every single policy that Biden signed needs to be repealed.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, and I would love to go into a lot of it. The problem is that actually right now I'm in the middle because of my relationship with the Bidens, Hunter Biden, and the Biden family in the last year and a half of his administration. I'm hearing, and my lawyers are telling me that I might be subpoenaed. Probably to this whole fiasco that James Comer and they're having the oversight committee. So because of that, I can't comment on my knowledge of what transpired during that time frame yet. But obviously, if I am subpoenaed, the one thing I will is tell the truth. Whatever I do know, whatever I was privy to, and after that, we could definitely do our show and go into it, and more than likely to go into it. But right now,
so Lev, look, the hour goes by, as I said at the beginning, very, very quickly, unfortunately. One last question for you. I want to cut through the bullshit, cut through all the spin. With everything that you've seen, you, Lev Parnas, everything that you've seen, Ukraine, Iran, India, Pakistan, Israel, Hamas, ICE, the courts, what do you think is Trump's endgame? Is he trying to consolidate power? Or do you think he just wants to burn the whole fucking thing down on his way out?
No, I don't think I think he wants to consolidate power. I think he wants to make a shitload of money. I think he wants to be able to leave a legacy. He wants his. I think he really, better, but I think he wants his face on Mount Mount Rushmore. I think he wants to be considered in history as well. I think in his crazy mind, and I think the only way he could possibly attain that is if they control power long enough to rewrite history, to rewrite the truth, because if in 4 years the new administration comes in, all this bull and garbage he's doing will change in a heartbeat. The only way he could go down in history as somebody great is if he could maintain this craziness for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, whatever, a long enough time where it becomes installed in our history as part of what we go on. And to do that, you have to be able to consolidate power. So I think that's what he really wants. I think, and that's why he's trying to, and that's why I don't think it's even about who's going to be the next one that's in power. If it's him, if people say Don Jr., or if it's going to be J.D. Vance, or it's going to be so. I don't think it's even an issue about that. I think he's trying to consolidate that it's his legacy. Whoever's going to take over is going to have to continue like his legacy of whatever he's trying to do.
Wow. Well, Lev, thanks so much for joining us here on Mea Culpa. Lots to be looking for, from Ukraine all the way to Iran. Thanks for joining me, my brother. Great to see you. Me. And to all the folks, Lev's Substack, fantastic. Lev and I and Malcolm Nance, again, have our Substack live called Unleashed every Thursday. So please make sure that you check it out. Join us. Follow us on Substack. And again, Lev, I'll be seeing you, my brother, very, very soon.
Absolutely, my brother. Thank you for having me. Take care, guys.
You got it.
Okay, so there you go. That was Laev Parnas. He got caught up in the Ukraine quid pro quo with Donald Trump. And there's a lot more to this. Like, I have a huge amount of insight and knowledge about the Trump-Russia connection, which predates Laev Parnas, and Michael Cohen might know a little bit more about it than he realizes, or he may not. I'm not exactly sure as to when he came into the picture and what the timeline is there. But nonetheless, you have to really ask the question, and this is the most important question, is why is Trump alienating his partner to the south, Mexico, partner to the north, Canada, but wants to do trade with Russia. And Russia gets a pass on everything. He wants to bring Russia into everything. Meanwhile, GDP and the possible benefits on a country basis is substantially more with Mexico and Canada, whether it be together in totality or individually. So this is where we're at. This is going to be an interesting topic that we're going to bring up again in the near future. Thanks for watching. Take care. Talk to you all soon. Ciao for now.